our next speaker is Dr. Andriy Konechenkov, who is the chairman of the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association. Andriy is also vice president of WWEA and taking care of the whole also CIS countries in our association. Andriy, I know you have a lot of work at this point of time in Ukraine, and we look forward to hearing from you the situation of wind power at this point of time. Before I hand over, let's have a brief look at what are the results of our first poll. And we can see here there is a slightly positive picture, but quite a few people also see a negative impact of the negative situation at this point of time. Yeah, then thanks for you who participated in the poll, and I hand over to Andriy.
Okay, dear friends, I am happy to welcome all of you today and appreciate the opportunity to present the recent wind power development in Ukraine. To begin with, I'd like to mention that the current year has become a year of survival and struggle of our market for its existence and further development. This is not only a matter of COVID-19 pandemic, which slowed the pace of wind project development, but also of political struggle between fossil and green energies. The sharp growth of renewable energy technologies in 2019 led to revision to the renewable energy legislation in 2020. I should be also noted that launching the new electricity market in July 2019 without resolving the perennial problems of Ukraine's power sector gave birth to even more challenges. This first year of operational electricity market in Ukraine clearly demonstrated it. Well, let's have a look at the current wind power market in Ukraine. As of the first half of 2020, the total installed capacity of Ukraine's wind power sector reached 1,212 megawatt, excluding 226 megawatt located in the occupation territory of Donetsk and Lugansk region and annexed territory of Crimea. More specifically, 25 wind power plants, mainly with megawatt class wind turbines, successfully generate green electricity in Ukraine. The share of wind electricity in total Ukraine's electricity balance has reached 2.25%. According to our analysis, the total individuals involved directly or indirectly in the national wind power sector amount to nearly 1,300 persons, and 35% of which are women. Sorry, it's not working. I don't know. Okay. 2019 was a record year for Ukrainian wind power sector. 637 megawatt new wind capacities were added to the grid. In additional 5,000 megawatt of new wind farms have already received construction permits. As of the end of 2019, investment in the national wind power sector reached nearly 2 billion euros. This slide shows wind capacity growth since 2010. I'd like to remind that feed-in tariff was introduced in Ukraine in April 2009. Columns representing years from 2015 are made in the three color. Blue color shows capacities installed in the mainland Ukraine, while red means capacities installed in the territory of the annexed Crimea, and orange color shows wind capacities installed in temporary occupied territory of Donetsk and Lugansk region of Ukraine. As you can see, this has been no wind development in this region since the year of their annexation of occupation by Russian Federation. By the end of 2020, we expect to have around 300 megawatt of new capacities. Initially, the figures were higher, but coronavirus pandemic modified it. In April 2020, several wind companies with wind energy projects being in active construction phase were notified by their constructor and subcontractor on force majeure event occurrence due to quarantine restriction caused by COVID-19. These circumstances led to some delay in wind project development. So, how does the renewable electricity market of Ukraine look like as of first half of 2020? This has been installed 5.7 gigawatt of solar plants. Share of soil in green electricity come to 58.4%. As for wind power, the figure for installed capacity are much more modest, only 1.2 gigawatt, while share of wind in green electricity generation come to almost 33%. As for the other type of renewable energy source, their share in installed capacity and electricity generation is insignificant. The rapid increase in renewable energy capacity in 2019 has revealed certain flaws in the support system design. First of all, very high tariff for solar electricity. Such tariff for solar projects uncontrolled construction of solar farms in the country. For sure, it caused unbalancing functioning of national electricity market. Since January 2020, the renewable energy source market of Ukraine has been suffering from delay in payment, and since April 2020, from non-payments for electricity bills by the national off-taker. The non-payments crisis in the electricity market led to the long-term negotiations between investors and the government. As a result, a memorandum of understanding between government, the regulator, and two leading renewable energy associations, including our association, was signed in June 2020. And in July 2020, the parliament adopted a law which substantially reduced the feed-in tariffs for renewable electricity. For example, for wind farms commissioned between 2015 and 2020, feed-in tariff rates is reduced by 7.5%, and for wind farms commissioned from 1st January 2020 onwards by additional 2.5%. The law also set up the terms for payment of electricity debt. The debt shall be fully repaid by the end of 2021. Some changes were introduced to green auction system. Thus, the pilot auctions to be conducted still in 2020. The government made a firm commitment to our association to restore full payment for renewable energy producers in the very next months following the passage of the law, but payment discipline has not been established as was promised. The guarantee buyer has only covered its payment obligations for electricity delivered in August, and payments for September deliveries are now at just 27% of its obligations. Payment for 9 months electricity deliveries are at average 48 of its obligation. So at the end, I may say that COVID-19 pandemic has affected the development of wind energy sector in Ukraine less than the current non-payment crisis in the sector. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Andrei. I think this is, on the one hand, what you show, the growth in Ukraine. It looks good, but what you're telling us about the problems that you have with payment is, of course, something that we understand is quite concerning development, and we will, of course, wish you that that can soon be overcome, so that that the market, which used to be an attractive market, and I think still has a great potential. And we know there's also discussion about Ukraine becoming a supplier of renewable energy, for example, in forms of renewable hydrogen. But that, of course, requires that investment is done in Ukraine, in particular in wind power. So, Andrei, again, thank you.